Today I'm going to go over a comment that I received in from another video, which I think would be relevant. I think I've hit this before, but it'd be a good idea to hit this again. So basically the comment is, DSD, the narcissist senses I'm about to leave the marriage. He generally does not care about the kids, but he all of a sudden takes them out, buys them stuff. He's manipulating my kids. I need advice, 10 years marriage. Okay, here's the number one thing to remember if you're really dealing with a narcissistic ex. They can't keep it up. So if this is a facade, it's also a trap, but if it's a facade, he will not be able to keep it up. Unfortunately, divorce court things tend to not last a super long time. I mean, they can, but he could potentially manipulate the situation for the duration of the court. Here's the second part about this, and that is if by chance you're not dealing with a narcissistic toxic ex, you're just dealing with somebody that's toxic for you, if they can turn around and actually be a involved parent, even though it's an annoying as hell because they weren't that way with you, it's still a good thing. In a lot of ways, I think my ex thought that that's exactly what that I didn't care about the kids, that I wouldn't be involved with them. I wasn't necessarily buying them a lot of stuff because I didn't have any money at the time. But there's a possibility that if you're really, really lucky, that this guy will ultimately end up being a decent parent. Maybe. Okay. So here gets into the next part of this, so it's really, really important, and that is don't take the bait and try to point out to the kids how bad their dad how bad you think he is, okay? Because if you want to ensure that the manipulation will go, will be successful and the alienation will be successful, is to try to break that illusion for your kids. Here's the thing, if your ex or soon to be ex is realizing that you're getting ready to leave and he's trying to butter the kids up or change the relationship with the kids so that they don't choose you or that they don't completely denigrate him, you attacking that or you trying to point out what a piece of crap he has been isn't going to help you. Actually, it's a good course of action to turn the kids against you, and don't take that bait. Don't fall for that trap. I hate to say this, and it's going to be really hard, but you're going to really want to encourage them to have a good relationship with their dad. Now, unfortunately, well, let's say, best case scenario, he's not a narc, and that would be the best case. And he wants 50-50, and you get 50-50. Realistically, if you think he's getting ready to say you're a piece of crap parent and that he wants full custody, that's not really realistic. Actually, it's really not realistic for either one of you unless there's some significant situation that warrants that. Again, that goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning of this, is if you start trying to remind the kids of how bad their dad has been in the past, then you're giving him information, one, to where you're potentially turning the kids to where they will choose him, and you're also giving him, if he's here's the thing, if he was saying the same thing and writing the same email to me, the advice I would be to him is document everything your ex is doing so that you can take it to court and show that she, in this situation, you are being manipulative, you are trying to do parental alienation, you are trying to do that type of thing. Be aware of that so you don't fall in that trap. Now, again, going back to what I was talking about before, if he is a narcissist or he has strong narcissistic traits, it will be very difficult for him to maintain that facade. There's more to it than just buying stuff for kids, right? I mean, yeah, kids like stuff, but they also want attention. Now, granted, if that attention, and the only attention they get is the fact that he's buying them stuff, so you say he's taking them out. That's going to be the big key, is him providing attention for the kids. And to be perfectly honest, this is really tough, but do you really want, do we want our kids to be rejected by the other parent? I mean, sometimes it's easier, right? I mean, sometimes if it's overt, but that leads to its own problems. So bottom line is, encourage the kids to try to have a relationship with their dad, even though it is going to annoy the crap out of you, but you don't want to be seen as a hindrance to it. Conversely, if he is actually toxic and he's trying to say, that mom's not, mom won't allow you to do this, mom won't allow you to do that. If you're not doing that, then his arguments that he's making with the kids are going to fall on deaf ears, and it's going to look like he's attacking you. Remember, the whole game on this whole thing is to point out what the other person is doing negatively, and that the kids see it. So don't fall for that trap. Don't fall into that. Let me just look over what you said. It's this was a comment to my 5 traits. No, it wasn't the 5 traits video. The 4 stages of narc divorce. A lot of this, and what I was talking about on that, does correlate to this, because you're going to go through the same way. I mean, I think I was wording it in a different way, but even right now, it is, and I still am having issues with this. Every time the ex decides to I'm going to be normal now. And it's like, initially, years ago, that used to really irritate me, because it's like, oh, what? You get to decide, when you decide to stop being a psychopath, and she's not a psychopath, but whatever, now it's okay. It's like, when you decide that you're going to be nice, everything is great. And then whenever you decide you're not, then I just have to suck it up. It's along the same lines, right? I mean, you're sitting there going, man, all I ever wanted was this to happen. And now they're doing it. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in that trap, because it leads nowhere good. And I get it, because not so much that the ex ever did anything that I wish she would have done, but there are times, even recently, my daughter wants to do a college thing, and someone offered to go talk to her and over the break, and her mom says, "Oh yeah, you sure you can go with your dad for that?" Right? I mean, so it's like, it's all about illusion, and it's all about image. So keep that in mind too. Is they're going to use the kids to try to develop that image of what they're trying to do. The problem is kids are easily manipulated. It doesn't take much. And like what you're talking about, now he's giving them attention. More than likely, they are going to eat it up. Be very, 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 very careful that you do not turn yourself into the bad guy that's trying to ruin the relationship with the other parent, or in your situation with their dad, because that is a surefire way to get them to turn against you. I think the hardest thing in these situations is whenever you're dealing with somebody who's covert, who also wants to be, is trying to stay in the picture, and they won't basically just walk away, because now you're stuck with it. If you start out strong, you can make sure that you don't damage your relationship with your kids. You can start out with as decent boundaries as you possibly can. And I mean, this could all just be, if he's sensing that you're getting ready to leave, that he's turning around to make the narrative be that you're the bad guy. That could be what the game is too. So you just got to be really careful about it. Again, more than likely, if it's an act, narcissistic personality types cannot maintain it. It's not maintainable. When they're covert, unfortunately, they can maintain the illusion intermixed with their failures, because the kids want it so bad. So when they're throwing the breadcrumbs, they're going for it. Realistically, I'm not sure. Let me see. I don't see how old your kids are. I don't think you put that down. If they're super young, the likelihood that he would get more than 50-50 is pretty low. If they are, over 5 or 6 and they're in school, there's a pretty good chance, if you guys are located in the same area, that, and depending on what your state is and what it leans toward, but more than likely, a lot of states now are leaning towards 50-50. My opinion on that, because I know, being on the dad side of it, it's harder to you got to fight for 50-50. So I think it's a good thing, because if you are dealing with a narcissistic parent and they are geared up to be able to have more custody, you want to have as much possible time as you possibly can. And honestly, if depending on the situation, depending on how much tenacity he has to stay with this and what the real goal is, will determine on what ultimately happens. I've seen a lot of times with these type of fights, once it starts, where the person wants 50-50 or they want as much custody as they can get, they get it, they can't maintain it, they can't really do it, so they give the kids back anyways. I've seen people go through massive custody battles, they win, or the person loses, typically the wife loses, that's 50-50, it goes on for a little bit, the person can't handle it and says, you know what, never mind, I'll go back to being a weekend dad, even though they burn a whole ton of money to get what they want. That's my thought on that. I hate to say it because I know it hurts, but hopefully in this situation, you're not dealing with a narcissistic ex. Maybe he was just really angry at you, but that he's not angry at the kids, and the kids will end up having a good relationship with both of you guys. More than likely, if you're here though, he probably is showing strong narcissistic traits. And again, if that's the case, he won't be able to maintain this for very long, and it'll start to degrade. So if you have more questions on that, leave it in the comments below. I hope that was helpful, and I will chat with you on the next video. Take care.